Hi everyone, good afternoon. I guess it's afternoon now. If everybody's as cold as me, I welcome everybody just doing jumping jacks. I might have to do a few just to stay warm, but thanks for joining us at this outdoor announcements. Very, very exciting. My name is Adam van Koeverden. I'm the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Environment and Climate Change, as well as the Minister of Sport and Physical Activity. I'm also the Member of Parliament for Milton, and it's really nice to be here despite the chilly weather. And I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are gathered on the traditional territories of the Algonquin Anishinaabe peoples. Canada is blessed with vast forests. From poplar to pine, spruce to cedar, our trees clean our air, shade our communities, and reinforce important ecosystems and habitats. Planting trees are a simple and effective way to combat the twin crises of climate change and biodiversity loss. And that is precisely why Canada is committed to planting 2 billion trees, all while creating good, sustainable jobs. Earlier this month, I was thrilled to announce 2 projects in the Halton region, where I'm from, to plant over 122,000 trees in partnership with local organizations. And I should say that brings us up to over 250,000 trees in the last couple of years alone, thanks to organizations like Trees for Halton Hills and Conservation Halton. All of these collaborations are incredibly important. Our path to planting 2 billion trees over the next 10 years can only be achieved by building positive and productive relationships with all types of organizations: governments, Indigenous communities, not-for-profits, businesses, and conservation areas. One of the most collaborative partners that the federal government has is Forests Ontario. As folks who call this province home will know, Forests Ontario is a remarkable charity focused on the management and delivery of high-quality tree planting programs, as well as educational resources and other community initiatives dedicated to making our forests more sustainable and healthy. And that's why it's so great to be here today, to discuss how the federal government and Forests Ontario are working together to plant more trees across our province. To say more, I'd like to invite the Honourable Jonathan Wilkinson, Minister of Energy and Natural Resources, to the podium. Over to you, Minister Wilkinson.
Good morning, bonjour. Thank you for joining us today. Special thanks to my friend and colleague Adam van Koeverden for emceeing, and certainly everyone from Forests Ontario for being here today. I would also like to begin by acknowledging that we are gathered on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation. Across Canada, people are feeling the effects of climate change, and no part of Canada has been immune. This year we saw the most devastating and severe wildfire season in our nation's history. We saw evacuations in our cities, towns, and villages. We saw smoke blanketing our major cities. Mais il n'y a pas que les feux de forêt. Les Canadiens et les Canadiennes connaissent les répercussions importantes engendrées par les inondations, les sécheresses et les vagues de chaleur. Ces phénomènes météorologiques extrêmes sont de plus en plus intenses et fréquents d'année en année. Clearly, Canada and countries around the world need to lower carbon emissions. We must also strive to adapt to the effects of climate change that are unfortunately already baked into our future. That is why Canada's climate plan is among the most comprehensive and detailed in the world. It details how we will mitigate carbon emissions across all sectors of the economy and how we will adapt to a changing climate, while at the same time building a prosperous economy that will thrive in a low-carbon world. Nature-based climate solutions are a key part of our plan. Through the planting of trees and the restoration of grasslands, wetlands, and peatlands, we can capture and sequester carbon while also protecting biodiversity and at-risk ecosystems. In the fight against climate change, Canada has an ally in its vast forests. La science est claire, les arbres captent le carbone, purifient l'air, renforcent les habitats et la biodiversité, en plus d'améliorer le bien-être de nos communautés. That is why the Government of Canada is working with provinces, territories, Indigenous communities and organizations, municipalities, private landowners, and others to plant 2 billion trees over the next decade. Since we made that commitment, we have made significant progress with partners across the country. We now have agreements signed or under negotiation to plant over 370 million trees towards the Government of Canada's commitment. And over the summer, I announced that we have planted over 110 million of those trees. And much of this progress is because we have been able to work with immensely collaborative partners like Forests Ontario. Forest Ontario has truly been a champion for reforestation and one of our closest partners in our efforts to plant 2 billion trees. When the provincial government cut funding for Forest Ontario's 50 million tree program, we stepped in to help plug the gap. Forest Ontario then submitted a proposal to plant over 7 million trees through the 2 billion trees program. Their project was well designed and we knew that we had to support it. And today we are here to announce this collaborative relationship is indeed continuing. I am pleased to be joined here by Forest Ontario's new president and CEO, Jessica, am I going to get this right? Kaknevicius, to announce a joint investment of over $123 million, of which $61 million comes from my department, which will see an additional 31 million trees planted across Ontario starting this spring. Forest Ontario will oversee all planting, including forecasting and collecting tree seeds, working with nurseries and training tree planters. The trees planted will increase forest cover and involve the planting of a variety of native tree species, encouraging biodiversity and enhancing wildlife habitat. This project alone is expected to result in a significant number of full-time seasonable jobs over the span of the project for Canadians. It will improve technical skills for planting, contribute to environmental restoration and remediation activities with localized solutions to environmental issues, and it will increase the number and variety of native tree species planted to encourage biodiversity and to enhance wildlife habitat. Agreements like this one with Forests Ontario will maintain and create more of these good jobs across the supply chain in nurseries and out in the field, surveying, planning, and planting these trees. Program partners like Forest Ontario are well aware of the careful planning that is required to successfully plant so many trees. They go through the careful process of collecting seeds, growing seedlings until they are large enough to be planted in the ground, identifying available and appropriate land for planting, and securing the workers who will get these trees in the ground, and then of course nurturing the trees to ensure they thrive and grow. Il est important de souligner que nos partenaires dans ce programme ne sont pas seulement des organismes de plantation d'arbres privés, provinciaux et territoriaux, mais aussi ceux qui sont les gardiens de ces terres depuis des temps immémoriaux. To this end, I am pleased to announce that the 2 Billion Trees program is now accepting applications from Indigenous governments, organizations, and communities for new tree planting and capacity building projects. While fully 1 in 5 of the 2 Billion Trees projects done to date have already been Indigenous-led, this new stream has been created in partnership with Indigenous groups with a distinctions-based delivery model. This means more opportunities for Indigenous organizations and communities to be a critical part of the success of this program. Planting 2 billion trees is a marathon. It is not a sprint. Through this hard work and investments in collaborative projects like this one, the government is on track to reach its 2 billion trees commitment. 2 billion trees will provide shade and shelter for wildlife, from hummingbirds to eagles, from red squirrels to deer. 2 billion trees that will ensure cleaner air and healthier, more climate-resilient communities. 2 billion trees that will support the creation of good jobs and a sustainable supply chain in every part of Canada. So today I want to sincerely thank Forest Ontario for their hard work and their partnership, and certainly I wish you the best of luck with the tree planting. Thank you very much. Merci, and I will turn things back over to Adam. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. It's very, very exciting, and I hope everybody's managing to keep warm out there. It's now my pleasure to invite Jess Kaknevicius to the podium from Trees Ontario. Forests Ontario. Forests Ontario.
Thank you. We are so excited to be here. Thank you both, Mr. Van Koeverden as well as Minister Wilkinson. I'm thrilled to be here on this exciting day to announce this long-term investment and collaboration between Forests Ontario and Natural Resources Canada through the 2 Billion Trees program. Forests Ontario is a non-profit charity that believes healthy forests can sustain biodiversity, healthy people, and a healthy economy. And we are able to achieve this through our restoration, education, and community engagement work. Through our national division, Forest Recovery Canada, we are also continuing to expand our work across Canada. We like to say we don't just plant trees, we grow healthy, diverse forests. We believe that the investments that we are making today to get more trees in the ground are essential to helping us fight climate change, support biodiversity, and build healthy communities. Alongside our comprehensive network of partners, many of who are here today, We have the expertise to manage every aspect of tree planting, from seed collection and growing seedlings to tree planting and maintenance, ensuring our new forests are healthy and thriving. In fact, this past spring, together with the help of our planting partners, we planted approximately 2.5 million trees across the province. And over the past 20 years, Forests Ontario has been responsible for the planting of more than 43 million trees on over 8,000 project sites across Canada, creating over 20,000 hectares of new forest. We are also committed to working with our partners to ensure the trees we plant today grow into healthy, resilient forests that will sequester carbon, which is something our organization is very proud of. Now, with the latest commitment from the Government of Canada and the 2 Billion Trees program, we are set to expand our large-scale planting efforts that will improve the health of local, urban, and rural environments and communities, boost wildlife habitat, support sustainable nature-based solutions to climate change, and contribute greatly to community development and economic growth. Not only that, it will leave a legacy for our children and many generations to come. This includes planting more trees in Ontario and expanding our efforts to partner and plant more trees across Canada through our national division, Forest Recovery Canada. The Government of Canada will cover 50% of project costs through the 2 Billion Trees program, and Forests Ontario will work with supporters, corporate partners, provincial governments, and donors across the country to contribute to the balance needed. This is an extraordinary and rewarding opportunity for organizations and individuals to show their environmental leadership. We have the support of the Government of Canada, and now we need corporate partners and donors to stand with our planting partners, conservation authorities, Indigenous community partners, municipalities, and community groups to play a vital role in improving climate resilience and biodiversity in our natural environments. These goals are in direct alignment with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, adopted by all United Nations member states in 2015, provides a shared blueprint for peace and prosperity for people on the planet now and into the future. At its heart are 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which are an urgent call to action by all countries in global partnership. Of those 17 Sustainable Development Goals, large-scale projects like the one we have embarked upon with the Government of Canada's 2 Billion Trees program contribute to improving good health and well-being, climate action, life on land, and partnerships for goals. Together, we can help Canada achieve its contribution to these global goals. In fact, Forests Ontario is an official restoration implementation partner of the United Nations Decade on Ecosystem Restoration, dedicated to the protection, conservation, and revitalization of ecosystems worldwide. We have worked hard to build strong relationships with partners who understand the transformative power of forests to combat climate change, clean our air and water, to support biodiversity, and to provide economic and recreational opportunities in our communities. We are proud to count the Governor of Canada among our partners, and I'd like to thank both Minister van Koeverden as well as Minister Wilkinson once again today for their hospitality and everyone involved in the 2 Billion Trees program. We are helping to create a future that is equitable, healthy, and vibrant. It takes a forest, and it takes a community of people and partners to help us achieve our goals. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Jess, for your great work. And I was so focused on getting your last name right that I didn't see the forest for the trees. Apologies for that. And apologies for the joke. That apparently, that concludes the formal announcement today. But should there be any questions, I'd now like to call on Carolyn Svonkin, Minister Wilkinson's press secretary, to moderate, and we'll do a photo afterwards. Over to you, Carolyn.
Thank you very much, MP van Koeverden. So, as mentioned, we'll now move to the media Q&A portion. Any journalists who would like to ask a question, I encourage you to line up at that mic to my left, please. And we can go one by one. Please say the name of your name and the name of your outlet before you ask your question, and we'll have time for one question and one follow-up per journalist.
Hi, Mark Ramsey with the Toronto Star, and question for Minister Wilkinson. After this summer's devastating forest fire, the wildfire season, there were calls to refocus the program on reforestation. Could you tell me a little bit about what work has been done in that area so far?
Sure. Yes, of course, the devastating wildfires certainly brought into focus the need for us to think about reforestation as part of this program. The bulk of the trees, so there are a number of different streams, but the bulk of the trees will be planted in collaboration with provinces and territories, and certainly many of the provinces and territories are looking at reforestation as a significant component of the trees that they will be planting.
Thank you. And earlier this year, there was a report from Canada's Environment Commissioner, and among its recommendations were for Natural Resources Canada to clearly document how the program will be operationalized to meet its planning goals beyond 2031 to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and also some things about communicating better. Could you tell me what you've done to implement these recommendations since then?
Sure. The Commissioner had a number of recommendations, and I think you would have seen that we accepted the vast majority of those, and the Department of Natural Resources has been working to ensure that we are implementing those on a go-forward basis. Certainly part of that is around monitoring. All of the agreements that we are signing include ongoing monitoring of the trees on a go-forward basis, so that we actually can ensure that that those trees are permanent increase in forest cover, but also so that we can actually validate things like the carbon sequestration.
All right, thank you.
Are there any other journalists who would like to pose a question? All right, seeing none, I think that brings us to the end of the announcement. I'm not sure, MP van Koeverden, if you have a concluding remark or if we'll just all go on our way.
Nothing for me, but we're going to do a photo. So I'd like to ask everybody from Forest Ontario to come up, and I think we'll do the photo here. Do you have a place for it? Okay, we're going to do it over there. You're in charge, Carolyn.